It's James here. You're listening to the voice note. Just finished watching the Man United PSG game. Vastly impressed with United's bravery that they've shown. Really impressed with that character. Solskjaer is really rubbing off on them, and I'm really impressed. But as I told people, PSG would let people down again. They are the ultimate bottlers. But let's talk about the first half. So in the first half, I was really concerned with United. Di Maria was just dominating on the left. Barley was dropping too deep, and Lindelof couldn't cope with Mbappe's pace. And United as a whole, they just couldn't handle Verratti's passing. Daniel Alves' movement as the wing back and the direct runs as a whole were just really good tactical play by PSG. But it was like they couldn't convert a lot of the chances that they had into goals or good opportunities on goal. And for me, Barley played very confused. Like he just didn't know what he was doing. Either he was scared of the pace or he didn't listen to the tactical message. So, and then a few times I noticed that he was caught on his heels or he was playing a bit too deep when he needs to really kind of push up. And in the first half as well, I thought it was clear that they missed a ball playing midfielder, someone who can, put those big tackles in. And I felt like if they had someone like a Roy Keane, etc., in there to put those tackles in, it would disrupt the way that the PSG played, and Man United would be able to get their passing game on. And the amount of space that PSG were allowed, I note that Champions League stats said they had 625 passes. That's due to the fact the amount of space that they were allowed, especially on the left. And United lacked in the first half clear leadership. But what I did notice is that when they changed to a 4, they looked more comfortable in the position. They started to get their passing game on, and tactically they looked much better. And then you started to see the mistakes coming from PSG. I've always said to people that young players in PSG are good players, but they're not ready, at the Champions League stage as of yet. If you weren't looking to win the Champions League, those guys are not the guys you need in defence. Really not the guys you need in defence. And Buffon's mistake is such a shame because he's such a servant of the game. I wanted him to kind of go to PSG and try to win a Champions League, or at least get to the semi-finals. But his mistake is unforgivable, and that's partially one of the reasons why they've lost the game. And it was literally against teams like a few seasons ago, or most seasons, you look at PSG, they have the most money, but when it comes to the big moments, they seem to bottle it under the pressure. And I just don't think they will ever get to that stage where there'll be like a Juve, Atletico Madrid, City, or a Barca, who I think one of those teams will win the Champions League, most likely City or Barcelona. And I think it's also because the league is so easy over there for them. They dominate it so much. So we think that they're really a really good team, but really when they go onto the big stage, they're just a good team. That's just about it. Because United competed with them with Fred and McTominay in midfield. That shows you everything that you need to know. And what was evident when United scored against those 2 errors made by PSG, you could see them kind of bottling up, PSG bottling up. The players kind of seemed like they didn't know what to do. The tactics weren't really working. And then the fullbacks themselves after, they didn't, United then didn't seem too scared about them. They're still making 2 defensive errors, but United was still able to then, counter-attack or make attacks themselves. And I felt this game, it just reminded me, the character that he's shown, it reminded me of like the Fergie era, that this was the true type of Man United, that they have the character and the resolve to get back in the game and show what type of team that they actually are. To beat PSG at home, but 3-1 is very impressive. And part of me thinks if they had the full squad, that they could have probably beat them even more. Some of those mistakes that PSG were making at centre back, at wing back, keeping wise as well. If you had a full team, this could have been a really bad day for PSG. And then you see Neymar on the sideline, jumping up and down, making it about him, and I'm just thinking, I just feel embarrassed about him. This is the guy that left Messi to come and form his own team, and really he hasn't done nothing in the Champions League. And everyone knows as well that whatever you do in the French league, it doesn't really mean that much. And I think his collateral's gone down big time. And another point, I was quite impressed with Mbappe. I've always seen him like running through, showing his pace, and showing his technicals and showing his skill. Sorry, but I've never actually seen him the way he's actually held up the ball, able to bring other people into play, as if he was like physically strong. He was playing as if he was like Lukaku. I was actually quite impressed with that part of his game, but Mbappe really needs to take a look at himself, say to himself, is Paris where I'm going to go and win the Champions League? And part of me hopes he signs for Real Madrid, because at PSG he will never ever challenge for the league. It doesn't matter about the players that you have there. It's the culture. It's the culture of PSG. They've bottled it for so many times, that there is an expectation that they will make a mistake, and when they make a mistake, the other team will capitalise, and then the momentum's with them. But in general, really impressed with Man United. I really hope that Oli gets the job, because he's shown the skills that he has got and the leadership that he has. And Man United, if they didn't appoint him, I think it shows a lack of respect for the skill and the work that he's put in this season. Like, I'm very impressed, considering, as we said, Fred was in midfield, who's rarely played. McTominay. And I also respect him for bringing in and introducing youngsters, because I know that's something that Jose Mourinho wouldn't have done. And that is United's culture and their DNA, to bring few young players and make them play at the top level. So that's another thing that I was very impressed about. And I also think it's good representation for the Premier League to show that, although it's obviously been brought in because of injuries, that we have youth players that can come through who are good enough at the highest level. And if an opportunity presents itself, I will give them that chance. And for a fact that with Mourinho, he will not give them that opportunity. There's just been no way of that. So yeah, that's just my review on Manchester United. Very brief one. As I said, very impressed with today's performance. PSG, I was kind of expecting them to kind of crumble somehow, but not actually lose the game. And also about the penalty decision, I'm 50-50 on it. Initially, when I first saw it, I said I felt it was a penalty. When they actually zoomed in on the camera angle, I did not think that was a penalty at all. I was very shocked that he actually gave that as a penalty. His arm was in a natural position. I felt like he jumped. He didn't make his body big. I just thought it was just a natural position. So kind of on that sense, I'm kind of concerned with VAR and is this an injustice? But in general, plaudits to Man United. They deserve everything. So thank you for listening. Please make sure you subscribe and follow. And if you're a United fan, make sure you celebrate.